political participation, that are part of dignity of the human and property. Can you tell me, in essence, whether those people who keep talking about East versus West, North versus South, this versus that, whether even secular laws, even though the secular law is not really the foundation that a Muslim would start from, because a Muslim would deeply believe in God, that's no question about it. But even then, when you talk about jurisprudence, can you see some similarities? Are there trivial similarities? This is basically my thesis, that unfortunately we find in our world today, and that includes Muslims, by the way. People think of themselves as totally different from others. Yes, there are some differences, but to think that everybody is so different from the other stands in the way of reconciliation, stands in the way of objective and honest comparison between some areas of commonality, without, of course, compromising areas that are unique, whether in secular law or in Islamic jurisprudence. So my basic thesis, can we think more of a more integrative approach than just East is West, East is East, and West is West, and never shall the twain ever meet. In fact, I would dare say, and this is not boastful, that I would say that Islamic jurisprudence and its concept can actually complement and improve Western laws, contrary to what some people think, that the West is the source of everything that's ideal. On the contrary. And let me just remind you of a couple of points where Islamic law went beyond secular law, and it would be good even for secular law to consider adopting this. One of them you may remember when we spoke about safeguarding faith, for example. It behooves Western countries to learn from Islam, which is 14th century stuff. Really, let's put it frankly, it's not boasting or anything. For example, the issue of the family of the murdered person to forgive, with or without financial compensation. Why should we somebody who committed murder, who is remorseful about it, and he and his people or clan or family or whatever, the universe he lives in, are trying to restore some of the losses of that family rather than having another life. And this is the major argument, by the way, of the opponents of capital punishment. If somebody is dead already, why kill another person? Islam opened the way for that kind of thing. And by the way, let me just add one more point here that shows that it is rooted, this notion of rehabilitation is rooted in the Quran. In the same surah, Surah 5 in the Quran that we quote in verse 32, actually just the verses around it, it says the punishment of those who fight against God and His Messenger and spread corruption on earth, which has been interpreted, by the way, by jurists, like armed robbery, where you kill people to take their property and all of these severe crimes. And then it speaks about their punishment. But you know what it says after that? إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَابُوا مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ تَقْدِرُوا عَلَيْهِمْ فَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Except for those of them who repent, and meaning, as jurists said, give themselves up to the authority. Before you catch them, then know you that Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. Isn't that the concept of rehabilitation in its brightest form? And my explanation of this, suppose somebody, if I committed armed robbery, killed people, on the highway. Now, if I know that I am a dead person, if I am caught, there is no escape from capital punishment. What do you think I would do, or some people will do? It's all right, I kill two, it doesn't matter if I kill 100. Because whenever I'm caught, I'm dead. So, we continue with the crime. So more and more lives will be lost. But the Quran opened the door. If you repent really and you feel remorseful and give yourself up to the authorities before they catch you, then you can have lesser punishment, you could be rehabilitated. And it says Allah is most forgiving. Look at that concept of dealing with crime at the root rather than just punitively, but encouraging. Now if I know that if I give myself up my life will be spared. I have more motive to do that. So I save other lives, and I save my own life because, again, Islam is interested in guidance rather than vengeance. I might be a good person after all the crimes that I committed. So this is one improvement. I submit humbly. It could be an improvement in the present, even advanced Western law. When we spoke about, for example, safeguarding property, the same thing here would apply. You know, if the Western laws include more and more protection of wealth, laws against plundering that wealth, for example, like, actually they started that, like trade in narcotics. It's becoming already illegal. It's just carried a step further, depending on whether society accepts that or work toward that objective. Then that could be an improvement even, and coming closer even to the concept or broader concept of safeguarding property. You can go on the idea of safeguarding faith in a sense of allowing religious minorities their own personal law. It is not done generally in the West. That's something that could be adopted. Recognition, especially in a multicultural, multi-religious society, at least recognition within the broad law or constitution of the rights of other minorities. It's not practiced and has been always part of the teaching of Islam and the practice historically. Even under the Ottoman Empire, they had the same kind of privilege given to religious minorities. But I'd like to conclude by saying, while I have focused more on the juridical aspects and similarities of laws or differences and areas of commonality, I must say that Muslims also, as part of their freedom of faith and belief, they feel that unlike secular laws, even if the laws are similar, the foundation on which these concepts are predicated are based, first of all, on spiritual and moral anchor. Spiritual and moral anchor. I know there are also valid bases sometimes in secular law when you say the laws are made also natural justice and all of these reasonably accepted concepts. That's also accepted in Islam, but it goes beyond that. That when I, as a Muslim, for example, abide by Islamic law, I do that not only because this is the law, not because I could get punished if I violate that law. It goes deeper than that. I'm doing that out of my own commitment and devotion to my Creator. So there's a spiritual, moral anchor of that. There is a sense of responsibility, because one of the basic beliefs of a Muslim is that life does not end with the death and burial. That there is life to come, and there is punishment and reward also. And that's, so I do that out of my sense of responsibility towards the Creator in much broader time scale that goes beyond my earthly life here. These are some of the foundations, but in any case, the bottom line that I'd like to end with is basically to see the areas of commonality. We can communicate. We don't necessarily have to convert to one another. We can share understanding, and whoever feels inclined towards one set of belief or the other, it's their freedom according to the Quran. And since the Quran itself says that if Allah willed, all people would have been one nation or one belief, then we have to adapt to living in a pluralistic situation, in which case we can see commonalities and work on them, understand differences, and try to minimize them and move together towards the benefit of all, not only people in a given nation, but humanity at large. I thank you very much for your good listening, and I hope I did not tax you too much, especially with my delivery, as I had only like 3 hours sleep after 2 days travel. I left Halifax Wednesday midnight. I arrived here in the hotel about 7, put my head for a few minutes. So forgive me for that, but I hope at least the issues has been conveyed to you in this very simple and perhaps not so detailed manner. Thank you very much.
very confident that Dr. Balaji has a lot to tell us, and we have